Hi, this is Mr. Max. So today I am looking at paper 2, the specimen paper. Now this paper is useful for learners doing grades 10 to 11. Obviously for the learners who are preparing for the end of the year exam, this paper is exactly what you would need. I already did paper 1 of the specimen. So you can actually download this paper also on the website of Nied. Okay, right. So I'm going to try my best to try to finish this within an hour. This is a 3 hour long paper that you write towards the end of the year. And also, there's a few things that you need to know, right, as we're working through this paper. Obviously, you must answer all questions. This is a given. And then, if the answer is not exact and they don't specify in the question, leave your answer to one decimal place or three significant figures, then this instruction comes in automatically. So you must leave all your answers to three significant figures. And when you're dealing with angles, you must leave your answers in one decimal place. And also, very important, you must always make sure that you set your calculator. Set your calculator, okay, in degree mode. Please make sure of this. So there's sometimes going to be a little D displayed on the display depending on what type of calculator you are using. Some calculators go with DG, so make sure that it's on that mode. Normally before you start an exam, I would suggest that you reset everything and you make sure your calculator works, the battery is fine, and then you can go. And when you have answers involving pi, whether it's you calculating the let's suppose the area of a circle, or whether you are supposed to find the circumference of a circle, okay, anything involving your pi, it's an irrational number, which means it will never end. You either use your calculator value and then you follow the surrounding to three significant figures, or you use 3.142, which is just an estimate. Okay, right. I'm going to go right to the question. So first of all, I will suggest you also grab your calculator. Make sure that your calculator is in place in the event that you need to work out a few things. Okay, and then you should be good to go. All right. So I just want to clear everything so that everything is in order. My calculator is in degree mode, as you can see, my emulator, and then you obviously can work out what you need to do. Right, so this question says you are supposed to consider the list of numbers, so I would suggest that you perhaps change something like this, right, to a decimal. So this is 0.625. Okay, and then you suggest maybe the other suggestion would be maybe for you to change 29. So 29 over 40. Also change that to a decimal. Okay, 0.725. All right, so that is 0.725. And from there, you can actually now, from the list, you must choose from the list. Two equal numbers, well, we have seen 5 over 8 is equal to 0.625, so it doesn't matter in which order, which one you write first. The largest number, obviously you can see by means of place value system, you would realize that well, 0.7 will be bigger than 0.6 and 0.6 that you have there. Of course, this becomes 0.063 also. All right, so this 0.725 is bigger, but it has to be from the list, so 29/40. Okay, so make sure that you answer according to that. Normally you can grab your calculator here. 6.2 times 10 raised to the power of -2. If I just bring out mine, so it's 6.2 times 10 raised to the power of -2. Of course, I changed that, so it's 0. All right, so I've made a little mistake here, so I will just go back. It's supposed to be 6.3 rather. Okay, 6.3. So it's 0.063, which, as I can see, is the same as 6.3%. Okay, so here 6.3%. It has to be the list, the numbers on the list. Again, you grab this 5.2. Well, it should be very straightforward. This question you're supposed to do under a minute. So it's 5.2. When you add a negative, it's the same as minus for 0.57. Well, you get 63 over 100, which is the same as 0.63. So the correct answer would be 0.63. Okay, easy marks, easy peasy. Right, here we get to a very interesting question. So I'm going to write quite a few things here and see how you should address this one. There's a few things that you need to perhaps um, revisit. So first thing that I always refer to, because this is continuous data, okay, the heights of plan. All right, so when I add 5 plus 10 plus 19 plus 11 plus that, well, that gives me 60, okay, because it didn't say in the question. And then there's something else that I want you to consider, and it's called class width. Right, so the class width you find by taking 1 minus 0, which is 1, 2 minus 1, which is 1, 5 minus 2, which is 3, 9 minus 5, which is 4, 10 minus 9, which is 1. Class width. Very important. Okay, so why am I doing that? Well, the modal class. The modal class is calculated if you take the, you understand, it's something that we refer to as the frequency density. And frequency density is calculated by taking the frequency and dividing that by the class width. Right. So the one that has got the highest frequency density, whenever you are dealing highest frequency density, that is the modal class. If it's just things that have got the same width in terms of the bars when you do a histogram, then you just take the one of the highest frequency or the longest bar. But this is a class with continuous data. So I had to do that. So here I'm going to calculate the frequency density for each. So this one, for example, will be the frequency, which is 5, divided by 1, which gives you 5. Here, it will be the frequency, which is 10, divided by 1, which is 10. Here, I'm going to have 19 divided by 3. Well, 19 divided by 3 gives you 6.3333 recurring, just to be on the right path. So it's about 6.3. This one here will be 11 divided by 4. Well, 11 divided by 4 is 2.75. And the last one here will be 15 divided by 1, which is 15. Right, so the one that has the highest frequency density, all right, so in this case, it has to be this class interval of 9 less than h greater than or less than equal to 10. So between 10 and 9, this one is the one that has got the greatest frequency density. So they want us to calculate the estimate of the mean, you understand? So the estimate of the mean is you are taking the frequency, the class width, you multiply it with the frequency. So we're going to find the estimate of the mean. So the mean is just an estimation. Remember, in this particular class interval, you have got plants that are 0 to 1 centimeters, but obviously not 0 centimeters. But we don't know exactly, how many plants or which plant has got, say, 0.1, 0.5. So it's just grouped there. So we're going to average that out. So the way you do it is you take that class interval and you multiply it. Now, once maybe I should bring in something called the mid values. And I'm just going to take out the class intervals, okay? Because I use the class, the frequency density, I use it to work out my modal class group. All right, so I'm going to bring in something called the, okay, maybe I should pick another interesting color. It's called the mid values. Right, so the mid value you find by taking 0, subtract 1, and you divide by 2. In this case, you say 1 minus 0, divide by 2. So this is 0.5, and 2 minus, you add as you go along, all right? So the mid values, you add as you go along. So beginning value, or you subtract, right? You can say beginning value minus end value, beginning value minus end value, or the end value minus that. So 2 minus 1, okay? So when you have 2 minus 1, that gives you 1. Half of that is 0.5. Okay, right. So if I have to do my beginning value, 1 plus the ending value, right? I don't have a space to write that down, so we take the beginning value, so plus the ending value. So in this case, you take 1 plus 2 and find half of that. Well, that's 3 over 1, that's 1.5. Here you take 2 plus 5, which is 7. Half of 7 is 3.5. Here you take 5 plus 9, half of that. So 5 plus 9 is 14, half of that is 7. Here you take 9 plus 10, half of that. Well, it's 19, and half of 19 is about 9.5. Right, so my mid values, right, that I have is 0 0.5, 1.5, 3.5, 7, and 9.5. So you're going to multiply these, and then you are going to find the sum of that. All right, so it's kind of very tricky, but if you can do it, you can do it. So I'm going to just change so that the color can be the same. Okay, so I have got 0 0.5 times the frequency, which is 5, plus 1.5 times the frequency, which is 10, plus, and then I have got 3.5 times the frequency, which is 19, plus, and then I have 7 times 11, plus, then I have got 9.5 times 15. All right, so all of this I am going to then divide by 60. So that's why it was important for me to find out 60. Okay, so go ahead and grab your calculator. You should get 303.5. Okay, and then you divide it by 60. So you get some value like 5.0833 and so on. Okay, so the correct answer then to three significant figures will be 5.08. Okay, so this is to three significant figures. Right, so you get a bunch of marks there by trying to show everything. And well, surprised they put this question right at the second question. It's quite a lot of work, and you know, you have got a whole paper to go. But anyway, let's continue. Question 3. So you have got some people here. Maybe I'll just minimize this a bit. So you have got Swama scored X goals in a tournament. So I'll put X here. Nadine scored 3 more goals. So Nadine would be scoring 3 more goals. So Nadine is X plus 3. And then there's somebody else. Venji scored 2 times as many goals as Swama. So that's 2X. As many goals as Swama. Right. Yes. Right, so let me continue. There was a small commercial break. Right, so write down the number of goals that is scored by Nadine. Right, so I did write it down. So let's just put it in a better color. Well, I tried to make it thin. So Nadine, she scored X plus 3. And then the number of goals scored by Venji. Venji is 2 times more than Swama. Okay, straightforward. So now write down in terms of X the total number of goals scored by all 3 girls. So we know Swama scored X, we know the other person scored X plus 3, we know the other person scored 2X. So when you adding everything, you get 4X plus 3 goals. Okay, right, then they say the average number of goals. So average is the sum of the goals, which in this case is 4X plus 3. When you divide it by the total number, that should give you the average. In this case, they say the average should be 9. So from here on, you just have 4X plus 3 equals to 9 times 3. So that's 4X plus 3 equals to 27. So that's 4X equals 27 minus 3. So that gives us 4X is equal to 24. And this is what we needed to prove. Good. Now, very simple. Now you have to solve the equation. Of course, you solve the equation by simply dividing by 4. So x will be 24 divided by 4. So x is equal to 6. 1 mark. Okay, so the next question asks you the number of goals scored by Venn. Now, if you remember well, Venn scored 2x goals right here. So it will be 2 times whatever the value of x is. So the goals scored by Venn is 2 times the value of x. So it will be 12 goals. Good. This brings me to this particular question. Now, this is a very interesting question. Maybe I'll just make the diagram a bit bigger. Okay, the diagram shows a cyclic quadrilateral. So cyclic quadrilateral is a quadrilateral that is touching the circumference at 4 places. Okay, things are flying around here. Okay, it's summertime here in Namibia, but well, let us see. And then, so this is a cyclic quadrilateral A CDE. Center is here. Then line LAB is a tangent. BC P is a tangent. Okay, meeting at that point. B, tangents from a point are equal. You should perhaps remember that. So tangents from a point are equal. That's one thing that I can find from that. Angle AOC is 105, as you can see. Now, find the following angles giving reason ADC. So they want us to find angle ADC, which means it's that little angle there. All right. Now, I want you to have a look at this chord AC. So this chord, it forms this angle at the center. And whatever this angle will be, this angle will be half of whatever the angle is at the center. Okay, and I hope you remember that law. There are quite some of them. So this is going to be 52.5, and it's at the angle at the center theorem. Okay, we know that angle at the center, wow, the word center is written quite weirdly. Angle at the center. So what does that mean? The angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference subtended by the same chord. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it as angle at the center theorem, but you can write it out if you want to. So let me go ahead then, and I'll just put in the values that I have so that it's a bit easier for me because to work on the diagram. So that is 52.5, this angle there. Okay, then another one they ask you is OCP. So OC, now it's on the other side then. So let's bring in red. So it's OCP. Now this angle here is 90 degrees, and its reasoning is tangent to radius theorem. I hope you still remember that. So this is 90 degrees, so please make sure. All right, and 90 degrees, let me just make my tick nicely here. So we say that's 90 degrees. You get a mark for saying 90 degrees, and you can say angle between radius, okay, and tangent. Okay, tangent and radius. What about it? Well, it's 90 degrees. We know that. Okay, good. Then angle EAC. So then they want us to find angle EAC. Now EAC, if you look at triangle ACE, you see that's the right angle triangle because this angle is an angle in a semicircle. So angle in a semicircle makes that 90 degrees because you have got a diameter there, CE. So that angle there is 90 degrees also. And its reason will be angle in a semicircle. Okay. Angle in a semicircle. Right, what about an angle in a semicircle? Well, angles in a semicircle, they equal to 90 degrees also. Good, so that takes care of that particular part. So we need to find angle AEC. So angle AEC, right? So AEC, so it's this particular angle that we are supposed to calculate. Right, now you can have a look at the following triangle. and I'm just going to draw it here. Well, that's a horrible triangle. Let me just make it look nicely, because on the diagram it's not so clear. Okay, I don't have a triangle here, but you'll get the idea. Okay, so I have got triangle O, because I'm looking for this, E, A. The reason I'm bringing out that triangle is I hope you can see that O to E is the same distance as O to A. Okay, that's radius. Okay, so if this particular angle here can be calculated all the way up to there, which you can find that angle by saying 180 minus 75 degrees. Okay, so because the whole thing here should give you 180. I hope you see that. Okay, so you have got 180 minus 75, get 105. Okay, good. So that's 105. Okay, so it's also another way to see it. So if there's 105, actually, it's totally wrong. That is supposed to be 180 minus 105. So this gives me 75. Right, so if that angle there is 75, okay, oops, my 75, you get it. So this angle here and this angle here should be equal to. So all the interior angles of a triangle, they add up to 360. So, or 180 rather. So you will be saying 75 plus whatever that angle is, whatever the other one is, should give you 180. So it's 2 theta equals 180 minus 75. Okay, so if you get that, you can actually calculate that. Right, so I'll come back. So it's 2 theta. So I'm saying 2 theta equals to 180. So if you go back to here, 180 minus 75. So it's 180 minus 75. All right, so that gives me nothing but half. So in order for me to find that angle, I'll be taking half of 105 degrees. Again, it brings me to 52.5. Now, there are many other ways that you could have done that you can find that 52.5 as well. Another method would be if you have angles in the same segment. I don't know if you notice, and this is where the 1 mark comes from. This angle is equal to that angle because they're in the same segment, you know. So if you look at this chord AC, it divides the circle into a major segment and a minor segment. So you see that these two angles are in the same segment, so therefore these two angles are equal. Good. The next one is angle ABC. So let's come back to angle ABC. So let me write down what I have so far. So I have the knowledge that this particular angle here is also 52.5. Now they want us to find this particular angle here. Now again, as I said, these angles, they are going to be equal. So let me just make some space by removing a few things. Okay, if you look at this tangent and radius story, that's 90 degrees then. Okay, the tangent here and the radius there is 90 degrees. So this is 180, and if you look at OABC, well, that's a kite. Right, so this is 90 degrees and 90 degrees and 105. Now, all the interior angles of a kite, they add up to 360. So if this is 105, you can actually find this one there. Okay, so basically, the way you are going to calculate, so if I was to really sketch that, so that's my my kite. It's rather awkward looking. These angles here, they are 90 degrees. This here is 105. Then this one here should be 75. All right, so you can actually work that out in so many ways. You know that these two angles, they should also add up to 180 because the other one is already it's already 90 plus 90. Right, then angle ACE. So angle ACE. Right, let me just clean up my diagram a bit. just to make sure, ACE. Let me clean up that side and then that also. All right, maybe I'll clean up this also, and ACE. So I have a right angle triangle there. So this one is 52, so I need to find that little one there. Okay, so in order for me to find that angle there, if you look at triangle ACE, let's sketch that triangle. So triangle ACE. So that's 90 degrees there. This is 52.5 degrees here. So this is the angle that we are supposed to calculate. Again, you can calculate that angle, ACE, by simply saying 90 degrees minus 52.5 degrees. Okay, there are so many ways you can actually find this angle. Right, so know that whatever this angle is, plus this angle here, plus the 90 here, should give you 180. So 37.5 is the answer to that particular question. So it's 37.5 degrees. So I hope you realize that as you are getting questions of this nature, you have to work on the diagram. You have to do some side work. But please don't write on this margin that is written for examiners' use. This is actually where the marking is taking place. Okay. Right, let's get to question 5. If you had a look at my previous video on quick revision questions on matrices, you realize that I have done the similar question. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 3, so that's 3, taking this row, column. Okay, hope you remember 3 times plus 2x. Okay, and if I then go back and I do the same thing, if I do the same thing, I take maybe the row and I multiply with the second column. That's going to be 3y plus 3x. And if I do the same thing, okay, so that means I'm going to take this row, second row, times the first column. Well, that gives you 5 plus 8, 5 times 1, and plus 4 times 2. All right, and then if you take that row, but you multiply it now with the second column, so that's 5y plus 4 times 3 plus 12. Well, it's equal to 7, 13, 3, and 7. Okay, right, so I can create some few equations. What I will do, I will be taking this 3 plus 2x, and I'm going to let it equal to 7. Okay, and there's a very obvious reason why I'm doing that. So it's 3 plus 2x, let it equal to 7. 2x is equal to 7 minus 3. 2x is equal to 4. X equals to 4 divided by 2. So my x is equal to 2. Now I can find y. So if I have to calculate the value of y, again, it's totally up to you which one you want to take. Obviously, you can't take this and that is already 13. This and that is 13, so you can't be taking that. But I'm going to take 5y plus 12, and I'm going to let it equal to 7. So I'm just going to do that next to this one. Okay, so 5y. So I'm going to have 5y plus 12 is equal to 7. That's 5y equals to 7 minus 12. That's 5y equals to minus 5. That's y equals to minus 5 divided by 5. So my value of y, therefore, is nothing but negative 1. Okay, right, so that's how you find those two answers. Okay, so please have a look at that video there. And on this side, I'm going to write this as 2, 3, 1, negative 2. So this is the matrix representation of the coefficients, okay, of x and y, times x, y should equal to the numbers on the other side. Right, in order to get rid of this particular matrix, we have to find the determinant and the inverse of that matrix. So I hope you know how to find the inverse of this matrix. So maybe you do it step by step. So I'm going to first find the determinant of the matrix or the inverse. Totally up to you how you want to do that. So I'm going to say find the determinant, let's say, of this matrix 2, 3, 1, negative 2. So the determinant, remember you swap this, so it's going to be, maybe I should write it here, 2 times negative 2 minus 3 times 1. Okay, so that gives you a value that is negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Right, so the inverse of this matrix here, the inverse is going to be, because if you take this and you multiply by its inverse, all right, so I'm going to be left with xy equals to that inverse. Please start with that inverse. So it's negative 1 over 7. And the inverse, you swap this, so it's minus 2, 2 here, and you change the signs here. Okay, and then you multiply that with 8, negative 3. So you're nearly done. Now it's just a matter of, don't multiply out yet with the minus 1 over 7. Keep it there. So let's leave that as minus 1 over 7. And now you multiply this. So negative 2 times 8, that's negative 16. Oops. So let's have our negative 16 properly. So that's negative 16. Negative 3 times negative 3, that's positive 9. And negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. And 2 times 3 is negative 6. Well, all in all, this should clear up to something. Okay, right. So this gives me xy. Now I will be taking that value. So inside I get negative 7. So I have negative 7 and I have negative 14. But I'm going to have to divide that by that scalar quantity or by that determinant, which is negative 1 over 7. All right. So eventually I'll get xy equals to 1, 2. So value of x therefore is 1. Value of y therefore is 2. Again, have a look at my previous video. I did exactly the same question where I did some revision stuff on matrices. Okay, question 6, you have got points A, B, and C. They are given. Now you have to find the coordinates of the midpoints of A, B. So let me just take you to a diagram. So point A is given as negative 4, 5. Point B is 4, 1. Right? So you have got these points here and point C somewhere here. So they want us to find, so if you were to join, right, let me say A and B, just to make an example, we want to find the middle. You can see the middle point, right? From the diagram, it's quite clear that the middle point will be 0, 3. Okay, right? You can rename that as M, the middle point. How do you find that 0 for x and 3? That's the middle of that. You can actually see that. All right, so to find the middle, you just take the x coordinates of A and the x coordinate of B. So in this case, the x coordinate of A is negative 4. Add with the x coordinate of B, which is 4, and then you find half of that, the mean. And then you take the y coordinate, which is 5, plus the y coordinate of the other one, and you take half of that. So this will give you 0 over 2, 6 over 2. Well, it gives you 0, 3. And that is how you find the midpoint. Right, this is the one that's a little bit tricky. So the equation of the line perpendicular to point C and parallel to AB. Right, so we are looking, if I go back to, we're looking for an equation. All right, so we're looking for, let's say, this is the line that is perpendicular to point C. This line makes 90 degrees here. So if we know what the gradient of AB is, then we can actually find the gradient of this line that passes through point C, that makes 90 degrees with that line. So in order for us to find that, we know that the gradient of perpendicular lines should give you negative 1. All right, so you know that the gradient of one line with the gradient of another line, if you give you negative 1, that means the lines are perpendicular. So if you look at the gradient of line AB and the gradient at AB, you take your two y values, say 5 minus 1, that's delta y over negative 4 minus 4. Well, you get negative a half. So that line, its gradient that we are looking for, should be 2, okay, such that 2 times this gives you negative 1. So the gradient of the line we're looking for is y equals to 2x. So the gradient is that, but we are not done yet. So now we know what our gradient is, because that line is parallel. Remember? Okay, the gradient of this line here is something else. That line, the gradient of that line is y equals to -1 over x. So the gradient of this one will be -2, not -2, but 2. Okay, such that when you take the gradient of 2, multiplied with gradient -1/2, you get that -1. So that's -1 over 2 times 2 gives you -1, right? So our gradient should be 2. Now, how do you find the y, the value of c? That is very simple. You just go ahead and you plot the coordinates of c for y. So that's -4 equals to 2 times 2 plus c. 2 times 2 is 4. Then c would be -4 minus 4. Okay, so that means our y-intercept should be -8. Okay, right, that is how this particular question is answered. Well, there's quite so much you can do. Now they want us to find the distance between a and c. Now the distance between a and c, a is -4,5. So a is the point -4,5. c is the point 2, -4, if I can remember well. So c is the point 2, -4, a is -4,5. So the distance between that, a and c, will simply use Pythagoras' theorem, okay? So you take the difference in the two x values, so we can have -2 minus 2, or -4 minus 2, and 5 minus, okay, that one looks like a terrible thing. So let's go back. 5 minus 4. Right, so everything here eventually gives us the value of AC, which would be the square root of 36 plus 81. Okay, which in turn becomes the square root of 117, which you can actually go ahead and you can grab your calculator, and then you can sort of, find the answer to 3 significant figures. Because I think this, if you grab the calculator, and the square root of 117, 3 root 13, that is 10.816666, and so on. So 10,8 is the acceptable answer. Okay, to 3 significant figures. Right, so again, it's a little bit cramped, the space, but just remember, I believe end of the year when you're writing your exams, the places will have a little bit more space. All right, so we have got question 7. The diagram shows the positions of 3 towns, T, R, S, and then they say town T is 140 kilometers from town R, and town S is 128 kilometers from town R. The bearing of R from T is 064 degrees, or 64 degrees, the angle there, the bearing is 064, right? So one of the things that you have to look at is find the bearing of S from R. So I always say to the students, and have a look at some of my videos on bearings, you have to go to R. So when you add R, okay, perhaps one has to look and see. I'm just going to draw ourselves a line there. Now let's take the line out. So let's just have ourselves something like that. So this is my north line. So what we are looking for is this particular angle. That is what we're looking for. Right, in order to do that, we need to calculate this angle here. And we know that these two angles are co-interior. So this angle will be 180 minus 64, okay, which will give me this angle, which is 116, if I'm not confused. All right, so this angle here will be 116 degrees. Now, if that is the case, then my solution would be 360 minus that 116 plus 125, because the whole thing here will give you a revolution. Okay, right, so that makes that to be 119. Okay, so they ask us to find the distance of TS, right? In order for us to find the distance of TS, we need to use Pythagoras' theorem. Okay, not Pythagoras' theorem, but the cosine rule. My goodness. So what does the cosine rule say? Well, it says that TS, now I'm going to go directly, is equal to 140 squared plus 128 squared minus 2 times 140 times 128 times the cosine of 125. Now remember, the cosine of 125 is going to be a negative number. All of these you put under the square root. Okay, right. So this is going to give me the value of TS. So grab the calculator. If you have a casual calculator, it's okay, it'll give you. If you have the other ones, then you need to introduce by putting brackets. Okay, so 140 squared plus 128 squared minus 2 times 140 times 128, okay, just make sure, times the cosine, again your calculator should be in degree mode, 125. Then you hit enter. So 237.7834, 237.7834, okay, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So to three significant figures, my answer should be, correct, 238 kilometers. Okay, right. Sometimes people they write this out, and I always say be very careful. You know, if you know your calculator skills is okay, um, oops, your calculator skills okay. Um, don't 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 go and have to write down everything. You could easily make a mistake. The reason why I'm highlighting this is because the cosine of an obtuse angle is negative, and sometimes people will think that that negative means now terms are separated, but it still must be multiplied with everything here. Okay, so just punch it in, and if you have these other types of calculators, that are not as friendly as these ones, then you can do the same, but then you must put brackets here and brackets here at the end, because you're telling the calculator find the square root of all of that stuff. Okay, or you find all of that stuff and then you say the square root of the answer. Okay, so we now know that the distance here is about 238, but for the next question, so that's 237 point, I will not say don't use 7834, don't use the rounded answer, right? 7834, don't use 238, because you will definitely need that in order to find, which is our next question. We are supposed to find this angle, and to find that angle we have to use the sine rule. Remember that the sine rule implies if you have a full pair, okay, and we have a full pair here, that is a full pair. That means you have got a side, right, and you have got an angle. So that's a full pair, right? So we need to find the other part. So in order to do that, I'm going to use the sine rule. So what does the sine rule say? Well, sine rule would be, let's start with angle, the sine of RST over, what is that distance that is opposite that angle that I'm looking for? It's 140 over 140 is equal to the sine of the angle of 125, just making sure, angle of 125, okay, 125, sine of 125 over 237.7834. Okay, now it becomes a straightforward issue. In order for you to find first sine of angle RST, you have to take this sine of 125 over 237.7834 and so on, multiply that by 140. That should give you an answer. And once you find that answer, okay, then our angle S is going to be whatever that answer is. Okay, right. So let's just bring up a calculator and see, right, how I use that. Now remember, I have that in my memory. It's there. So I'm going to go and I will say sine 125, okay, over the answer that I had on my calculator, and I multiply that with 140. Okay, so that's 0.4. Did you see? That's this particular part of my answer that I'm putting. Now I'm looking for the angle, so I must take the inverse. So I'll be saying shift inverse sine of my answer. Okay, it's going to give me my answer 28.8. Okay, so it's 28.8 degrees to one decimal place. Okay, without any problems. Can you see that? Well, make your life easy and make sure that you follow the stuff. All right, question 8. A little bit of money issue here. So we have got Lucas and his sister Sosa. They have $2,500 each, and they are investing with different banks. So Lucas is investing with Bank A, and Sosa is investing with Bank B. Right. So Lucas, they are saying calculate his amount. So the amount, and he's using simple interest. His amount will be whatever he has now plus the formula. Right. The formula is 2,500 times 7%. Please make sure that you do not mix this stuff up, okay? Don't mix them up. So 7%, that's what 100 comes from, times the years, and we are told it's 13 years. Well, that gives you 2,500 plus, well, that should give you 2,275. Just make sure with the calculator you get that. Now I'm going to quickly bring in my calculators, so I know it's 2,500 times 7%. Oh my goodness. Okay, and I'm going to multiply that by 13. All right, so it's 2,275. 2,275. Well, the amount therefore would be 4,775, because they're asking for what would be the amount. Now the percentage increase. Well, I don't know why this question is 1 mark, so that could be a major problem, because now students might anticipate that as a 1 mark question, but there's quite a bit that you have to do. Percentage increase is that actual 2,275 over the 2,500, and you multiply that by 100. Okay, so you grab your calculator, you get 91%. So let's look at Sosa. Sosa invests her 2,500, and she's using compound interest at 9%. So you know the formula for compound interest. So you see they give you 3 years here because they will not give you something that is more than that. Okay, so calculate how much will she have. So the formula for simple interest, or compound interest rather, gives you the amount directly. Okay, so 1 plus her rate is 9%, I believe. It's 9%. Okay, for 3 years, so 9% here, 9 upon 100, raised to the power of 3. Okay, grab your calculator, see what you get. Clear the last displays. So you have 2,500, open bracket, you have 1 plus 9%, well, it's 9 over 0.09, raise that to the power of 3. Okay, and remember the question says you must give your answer to 2 decimal places, 3237.57. 3237.57. Okay, so that is the answer then to 3 significant figures, or 2 decimal places rather. Now you're saying find the percentage increase of Sosa. Now let's bring my calculator back. Let's take away 2,500 here. So I've got 737.57. So 737.57. Okay, we just get as it is 25. And then I'm going to put that over 2,500. And then I'm going to multiply that by 100. Okay, right. So divide that by 2,500. Multiply that by 100. Gives you 29.5029. So that's about 29.5029. So it's 29.5% to 3 significant figures. Good. So we have got question C here. This is totally somebody different. They say Johanna received 3,600 from a bank. So let me just write what she has. She has 3,600. Okay. This includes an increase of 20%. That means 20% plus 100%, which is 120%. So that means 120% is equal to 3,600 over something we don't know, what is her original investment. So this is reverse percentages, but I had to show you where it comes from so that we don't anticipate, some wrong values there. So when you do cross multiplication, you'll have 120x here, and then you multiply the other side, you have 100 times 3,600. That is where I wanted to bring you. Okay, so in order for you to solve for x, you'll be say 100 over 120. That's where the reverse percentage story is coming from. Okay, so 3,000 was original investment. Should be considerably less. Right, so you cannot just jump to this if you don't know where it comes from. It's a reverse percentage. The moment you don't know the original investment, the original amount, the cost price, you need to be able to know you're dealing with reverse percentages. Good. Question 9, you have got vectors. Now we have to find the magnitude of vector A. So that is very easy. You use Pythagoras. It's minus 9 squared plus 4 squared. Okay, so that gives you 81 plus 16. All right, so the whole thing is root 97. Okay, right, so square root of, well, it's a 9 squared plus 4 squared. I don't have to put minus there because I know. And then you can give your answer 9.8488. So 9.85. 9.85. Correct to 3 significant figures. Okay, write as a single column vector 5b minus c, right? So that is 5 times whatever that one is minus c, right? So b happens to be 2, negative 2, and c happens to be negative 8, negative 2. All right. So again, this is very simple. So that's 10 minus 2, right? If you want to, minus negative 8, negative 2. Well, this gives you 10 plus 8, negative 2. This is actually not negative 2. This is negative 10, right? Okay, so that's negative 10. And same implies here that I will have negative 10 plus 2. Okay, so all good and well. This is going to be 18. And this other one is going to be negative 8. Please don't make a fraction. These are not fractions. These are vectors. Right. They are saying, explain why 5b minus c is parallel to a. So let's look at my answer. 5b minus a. So a happens to be negative 9, 4. That's a. Okay. And the other answer that I got, 5b minus c, I got an answer of 18, negative 8, if I'm right. Now, let's just quickly look quickly at something. If you compare some scalar and you have negative 9, you have 4, let's say we let it equal to 18, negative 8. Right, so if I have to do this one, I get negative 9k is equal to 18. That gives me k to be negative 2. Okay, so therefore, k is a scalar quantity. If you multiply that negative 2 with negative 9, you get 18. Negative 2 with 4, you get a negative 8. All right, the scalar quantity doesn't have to be that. I could have decided to put my k at any one. I could have decided to take 18, negative 8, and I put my k here, let it equal to negative 9 and 4. It doesn't matter. Okay, so for example, this will be 18k equals to negative 9, right? So this gives me k equals to negative 9 by 18, which is negative a half. Bottom line is, wherever I put my k, one is a scalar quantity with the other one. So that's all that you have to write in your explanation. Okay, in order for you to find those unknowns, you just say one is a scalar multiple, scalar. Okay, let's just make sure our handwriting, scalar multiple of the other. There you go. and that explanation is worth 1 mark. Okay, so this was just, I just explained this for you to get the concept of scalar quantities. Right, question B, you have got the diagram. O is the origin, and QR is the ratio of QR to the ratio of RP, those line segments is 2:1. So QR, so this is 2 and this is 1. So the whole thing from here to there should be 3. Okay, so if you now need to find, as they are looking for, in terms of P and Q, you're supposed to find the position vector of R. That means O to R. Now let's just look and see how one can go from O to R. Think of a way that you travel. O to R can be the same as O to P plus P to R. But here's the thing. P to R, okay, well, these are vectors. P to R, P to R is 1/3 of whatever P to Q is. You agree with me? Good. So I'll be actually calculating PQ. Right. So let me find PQ. So P to Q is the same as PO plus OQ. Can you see that? PO plus OQ. Well, in terms of P and Q, that's going to be minus P plus Q. Okay. So that's what I'm getting. So therefore, OR can be written as, and I will just write it here. I can say, therefore, OR will be OP, which is P. Maybe I should change the color of that. Just play around with color because I have that option. Okay. It's going to be OP, which is small letter p, plus 1/3 of PQ. And PQ, we already established, is minus P plus Q. Okay, obviously you'll be putting those lines to indicate. Right, so it's just a matter of you simplifying this particular one. Right, so again, it's vector geometry. So just multiply that over. So that's going to be P minus 1/3P plus 1/3Q. Well, this is 1. So 1 minus that gives you 2/3P plus 3. No, that should be Q. Okay, that should be Q. Right, so there are many ways. I decided to take that particular route. You could also have said, if you are looking for OR, you could also have, it's totally up to you. You could also have said, well, O to R is OQ plus OQ plus 2/3 of QP. You can try this. You'll see you will arrive at the same answer as I did. Okay. Right. Question 10. Right. Grab a calculator here and then you work out the missing values. Right. So if you are your function, you have your function as 6 plus x minus something squared. Right, so then we say when p is -3, so I'll just go back and now I insert -3. I go back and I insert -3. There are other ways you can do this, a table function in your calculator, but there's no need for that. So that's -6. Okay, right, so go back then to your calculator and now we look for -1. So just go back and take away that, -1. Take away that and hit -1. Enter. So that's 4. And lastly, they want 2. So bring up your calculator again. So enter 2. Go back and enter 2. Well, you get 4 as your answer. Well, I'm looking for R, sorry, so I'm supposed to put +1 there. So +1 and then the other one positive 1 as well, so I get 6 as an answer. Okay, so I should have my values of P, Q, and R is -6, 4, and 6. Okay, just make sure that I have the question paper in front of me just to make sure that I don't skip a step. Right, so now that I have those points, and I'm going to then plot all of those points. Okay, just going to make this big. So on the grid, draw the graph of. Just make that a bit bigger. Okay. Right, so we're going to draw the graph of. It's a bit too big. So when x is -3, p will be -6. So the point -3, comma -6 will be way down here. -3, comma -6 is here. When x is -2, okay, to my table, when x is -2, 0. So -2, 0, -2, 0. That's the point exactly there. When x is -1, I get q, which is 4. So -1, I get 4. So -1, 4 is here. Then when x is 0, okay, when x is 0, I get 6. So 0 get me to 6, which is right up here all the way. When x is 1, well, 1, I'll get r, which is 6. 1 is 6, so 1 is also 6. So 1 will be 6, will be here. When x is 2, I think I get a 4. When x is 2, I get q, which is 4. X is 2, I get 4. So 2 and it goes together with 4. When x is 3, get 0. So you look at that. 3, you get 0. 3, 0. So it's on the x-axis. Just make sure the points are plotted. When x is 4, I get -6. So all the way down there. So when x is 4, -6. Right, so you get marks for plotting. So make sure you plot all the points. Okay, right. It's very important that you do that. I'm just going to minimize this a bit so that I can plot my points. Oh, it looks a little bit too small, but I'm going to go back. Right. The objective is to join this because they want us to. So my curve might not be as smooth looking. Okay, because you have the luxury in the exam of ooh, let's take that off. You have the luxury in the exam of what's that? Let's see. Don't like that. You have the luxury exam of turning your paper around. Okay, so yeah, it is quite something. I just want to see if I don't have a curve auto shape. No, it doesn't give me that option. All right, so I'm gonna have to draw. Maybe I'll make my pen a little bit thinner. Maybe I'll use blue and not so strong. Okay, right, so you practice with it. It's kind of difficult for me with the software that I have, right? Oh, go. It's interesting. So that it has to turn somewhere, obviously. So, well, it has to turn. It's not so sharp, though. I hope you get the idea, right? How your graph should be. So my turn is a little bit crooked there. Now, obviously, you are going to be penalized if you shade this like me, right? But you join them, and you'll have better luck than me when you do that. Okay, it's kind of difficult with the pen to do this here on the freehand because I can't really turn the paper, but you get marks for a smooth curve. Okay, so your curve should be smooth, and please plot all points. Okay, plot all points, because that gives you that 4 marks that is there. So on the same grid, we're supposed to draw the function y equals to minus x minus 2. Okay, so minus x minus 2. Well, you can make yourselves a table of values, x here, y here. Let's say when x is 0 and when y is 0. So when x is 0, then you can just quickly complete that table. When x is 0, y is negative 2. And when y is 0, okay, when y is 0, you get, solving that equation, you get x to be negative 2. Okay, x will be negative 2. Okay, because that goes over. Now we can actually plot those points. X 0, comma negative 2. Well, it's a common point. It's here. When x is negative 2, y is 0. Well, it's this point here. Right, so well, when you take a ruler and you are drawing those points, I don't know, you'd realize, of course, you don't have to stop there. Where you do, I can take a straight line, and join them like that. It's a little bit, line is a little bit crooked. Something like that. Okay. Now, obviously, the line has to be something straight. Just something like that. Okay, so you can see from this diagram that the function is y equals to minus x minus 2. Very thick there. Okay, very thick. But the points of intersection, here it intersects at negative 2 comma 0, right? That's the intersection here. Here the other intersection is 3 comma negative 6, if I'm not, no, it's not 3, but it's 4. Okay, it's 4. It's 4 comma negative 6. So those will be my points of intersection. Okay, and that is coming here. So one point will be 2 comma, it's negative 2 comma 0. The other one will be 4 comma negative 6. These are the points of intersection. Okay, right. I hope your diagram looks a bit better than mine in the exam, but that is the crux of the matter. That's how that particular question should be addressed. Right, so we get to question 11. So it's about transformations, and you should basically make sure that you understand. So first you have to describe fully the transformation that maps A onto B. So when you go back and you compare A to B, you would see it's a reflection, okay? And the line of reflection is the y-axis. All right, so it's a reflection. The 2 mark thing, so it has to be a fully thing that describes 2 marks as a reflection. Please don't write reflection with an X. And then you get a mark for writing reflection. And we said it is the y-axis, or you can just say the line x equals to 0. Okay, have a look at that. So if you were to look at the line x equals to 0, that is the mirror line, so to speak. Okay, that would be the mirror line. So well, so this line perhaps will make it dash lines. Okay, so that is the mirror line. Okay, it's a reflection. Clear. Good. That is how you answer that. Now for 3 marks. So this is 2 marks. For 3 marks, you are supposed to describe fully the transformation that maps B onto C. Okay. Now B onto C. So I suggest you go back to your diagram. Look at B versus C. Well, you could see from the way it looks, it's an enlargement. Okay. Right. So it's an enlargement. So for saying enlargement, that generates a mark. Okay, so here you get a mark for saying enlargement. Okay, so we need a scale factor of enlargement. So let's go back. Okay, how big is that? Now you look for vertical distances, and if you look at the distance from here, I'm going to highlight that, from here all the way up to here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I divide that by this distance here, that's 1, 2. So it's like 4 divided by 2. That will make my life a bit easier. Okay? So 4 divided by 2. So my scale factor, okay, has to be 2. 4 divided by 2. So that gives me 2. Right, that's 2 marks. So I'll need the center of enlargement. Right. So in order for me to find the center of enlargement, and I know it has to be on one of the sides, okay, I will have to draw a straight line. So let me see if I can draw a straight line. I join this point with the corresponding point. I can stop there. And I'll probably join this point with its corresponding point. Well, it's a little bit out. So let's have that line drawn nicely. So it's going to be this point. It's also on top of that one. Okay, so I hope you see that the center of enlargement is nothing but here. It's here exactly, which is -4, comma, -2. Can you see that? All right, so the center of enlargement is -4, comma, -2. So doing that gives you the 3 marks. It's enlargement, scale factor, center of enlargement. Okay, so the center of enlargement, you join the corresponding points where they all intersect. That is the center of enlargement. Okay, so I'm going to take those lines and things away because I'll need that for the next part of the question. Because now they are saying we are supposed to shape A, okay, is mapped onto D, and it's by an anti-clockwise rotation, and the rotation, the center of rotation is 3, -1. Anti-clockwise, 3, -1, 90 degrees. So where is my center? My center is here, 3, -1. So it goes this direction there. Okay, that is anti-clockwise. Good. Right, let me count how far that point is. So it's 1, 2, 3 units and 1. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 1. So that point will be here. This point is 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2. So it will be here. All right. So my final point, my shape will be here, here, and here. Okay. So they say that's D. So make sure you have the right coordinates as I have them there. That's 2 marks for that. Right. They want you to translate shape B in the column vector -3 to label it E. So shape B, the column vector, we're going to translate it by the column vector -3, 2. So each point is going to move with that. So if I take B and I take this point, -3 will be 1, 2, 3, and then 2 up, 1, 2. That's going to be there. If I take this point, it's 1, 2, 3, and then 2 up, 1, 2. It's going to be here. All right. So if I take this point, it's 1, 2, 3. No, that one is the one I have. So if I take this point, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and all the way up there. Good. So that's my shape. And you can actually go ahead and label this one E. So the vertical translation, the shape just went, it slided, okay, so many units to the left and so many units upwards. That's 2 marks also for doing that particular question. Right, so please visit. I have done plenty plus videos on transformations. Also check out the channel on that one. Right, question 12. some Venn diagrams issues. So the universal set is a set of values of 4 to 20. So basically what this is 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, 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 all the way up to 20. Set A is consisting of composite numbers. Composite numbers are numbers that are, they have factors, more than 2 factors. So 4, not 5. 5 is prime, so only has 2 factors. So the next one will be 6, not 7, 8, 9, 10, not 11, but 12, not 13, but 14, 15, 16, not 17, 18, and not 19 and 20. Okay, that will be set A. Set B is multiples of 5, so that's 5, 10, 15, 20. So the number of elements, so this has to be a number, and this tells me what do they share. So if you look at A and B, all right, so let me just highlight A and B, what they are sharing. Obviously they're sharing a 10, that's one. They share 15, and they share a 20. So how many elements are they sharing? The answer is 3. Please don't put this in brackets, curly brackets, because it's the number of elements that we are looking for. Right, A union B complement. Let's look at what they have in A and what is the union of A and B and what is not there. Okay, so the union of A and B, if you have to write down the union of A and B. A union B would be 4, 5, 6, not 7, 8, 9, 10, not 11, 12, not 13, 14, 15, 16, not 17, 18, and 20. So compare this with the universal set. So what is not here, okay, from the universal set, what is not there would be, from the universal set, what is not there would be 7, 11, 13, 17, and 19. That would be the complement. That would be what is not in the union of A and the union of B. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, right? So you compare the universal set and you have a look at that. Good question. B. Well, you have the number of learners, so let me see if I can bring in a rectangle. So I have a rectangle right here, and I have got my 2 ovals. So, oopsie daisy. Right, I'm going to move it a bit. So I'm going to move it a bit and stretch it a bit. Okay. And perhaps I'm gonna maybe copy and paste. I'm gonna bring that. Also make my diagram a little bit smaller here. Anyway, something close to the original one. Okay. So we know from this information that the number of learners who play soccer. So soccer, they are 26. Netball, they are 14. Then we know that 3 play neither. Okay, and then X played both. So in this column it will be 26 minus X. In this column it will be 14 minus X. There you go, for 2 marks. We also know that the universal set is consisting of 33. Okay, so that is that. Now they say find the value of X. So, well, you can do this 2 ways. You can add everything. You can say 26 plus 3. Now let's go step by step. 26 minus X. So maybe I'll say 3 plus the one outside, 26 minus X plus 14 minus X. Okay, so that plus that plus that plus that should give me 33. Okay, right, so go ahead and grab a calculator. Let's add numbers. So when we add the numbers, we have got 3 plus 26 plus 14. That's 43. Good. So that is 43. And when you the minus, here's the thing now. when you look at this, this x cancels this x, leaving you only with the minus x. Okay, so minus x is equal to 33. So from here on, you should be able to solve this question. Okay, so minus x is equal to 33 minus 43. Minus x is equal to minus 10. Therefore, the value of x is 10. 2 marks doing that. 2 marks for that and 2 marks for that. Okay, right. Now we get to question 13. Well, I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick. Question 13, there are many ways you can do it, but if you know this formula, which is the axis of symmetry, but in any case, you will find this value, b is negative 2, so it's x equals to minus, it's negative 2 over 2 times a, which is 1. Well, so all of this gives you 1. So what you do is, everywhere where you have your x, you substitute in order for you to find the y value, which would be your value of k. All right, so many ways to do it, but I'm just going to do this one. It's a little bit easier. All right, so that's 1 minus 2 minus 1. Okay, so y equals to minus 2 if you solve this. So this therefore becomes x minus 1 all squared minus 2. And that's it. You're done. Okay, good. Now they say use your answer there to find the x-intercepts. So what you do is a quadratic equation, but you can say x minus 1 all squared minus 2 is equal to 0. So it's x minus 1 all squared is equal to 2. Then x minus 1 is equal to the positive and negative square root of 2, because you want to get rid of that. So x minus 1 is equal to the square root of 2, or x minus 1 is equal to negative square root of 2. So x equals to 1 plus square root of 2, or x equals to 1 minus the square root of 2. Okay, so you can actually go ahead and grab your calculator in order for you to find those missing values. Okay, so one answer would be 1 plus root 2. It's about 2.41. 2.41. So I'm going to have it here as 2.41. One answer. The other answer will be 1 minus root 2. But negative something, negative 4.1, negative 0.41. So that's negative 0.41. So these are my two solutions. Okay, 3 significant figures. Now they say you must sketch. Okay, so before I do my Cartesian coordinate system or whatever, I'm going to draw myself. I know my function should look like this, because that one there, okay, it's positive. And 2 on the side, so I'm going to bring in perhaps my intercept here, and then perhaps my other value of x can be here. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so this will be y and this will be x, and this is going to be negative 0.41. This will be 2.41. Now this particular point here is the y-intercept, so that's negative 1. Then it doesn't look like that, but the turning point, so where it turns, okay, the turning point is actually the point that we have here. The turning point will be, the turning point is the point 1, comma, negative 2. That's the turning point of the graph. Okay, so the turning point is the point 1, comma, negative 2. So this point here, I will just write it with comma, negative 2. Right. So these are mostly the most important points that I had to put in order for my sketch to be there. You see, the nice thing about your turning point, if you use this calculator, just want to show you something, and then you go to mode, you go to 5 for equation, and then you go to 3 because it's quadratic equation, and you wish to solve this equation. The equation is x squared. I'm just going to write it down as it was. Oops, I went too far. Okay, let's scroll back. Hopefully too far. Nearly done with this question paper. It's x squared minus 2x minus 1. It's x squared minus 2x minus 1. If you say let it equal to 0, so this calculator can actually give you the answers. All right, so I'll just start again. So let's say, right, so I said mode, I pick 5 for equation, and 3 for quadratic equation. So it's 1 equal to, that's the value of A, negative 2 equals to the value of B, and then negative 1 equal to, that's the value of C. When you hit enter, you get one of the solutions, which we know is 2,41. When you hit enter again, you get the second solution, which we have there. Okay, no problem. Now we are looking for the x value. X value is x equals to 1, which is that value there. All right, so when they say x value, they are referring to this value here. Okay, then the y value, you just keep pressing y value again. The y value is minus 2. Can you see that? All right, it tells you there's a minimum. That's the turning point. Okay, it's very interesting if you have that calculator. Good. Now I get to question 14. We are very close to finishing off this paper. So please, I know the paper is long, but if you have access to it, download it on the website of Nied under Specimen papers for grade 11, 10 and 11. You can use this to prepare for the exam. Okay, I'll work it out. I came across a few errors myself, especially with that question on the translation. So just make sure that you follow what I did there in the translation. Print it out if you can, and then you should be fine, right? This translation here. So work through this document and find it on the website of Nied. It will be very straightforward for you. Print it out if you can, and then you can work it out. Well, question 14. There are 20 mangoes in the box. 8 mangoes are small, 12 mangoes are large. Write down the probability that a mango chosen is large. So probability is a number between 0 and 1. Right, you can go ahead and simplify that. Okay, half of that is, 4 goes there 3 times, and 4 goes here 5 times. Okay, good. So, or anything equivalent to that. Sometimes people have 0.6 or 60%. Well, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so they are saying, so I'm going to use the letters. There are two of the mangoes are chosen that I know. All right, so what do we have? Well, let's see. Let me make a little table like that. Okay, good. So we know that we have got, which one is it first? We have got small and large. So small and large. So small, large we know is 12 out of 20. And then small was 8 out of 20. Okay, right, so we go again. Right, a little bit like that. So if you take, for example, let's say you take a small one, all right, then this is going to be now 7, and you're not taking it back, so it will be 19. So this other one will still remain 12, 19. The idea is that if you add 7 over 19 plus 12 over 19, you should get 1. If you remove a large one, it will be 11 over 19, and then this one will still remain the same. No, it's not 11. My goodness. If you remove, let's just put our S and L back, S and L. All right. So when you take out again small one, so it's going to be. We already took out the small one, so let's leave the small ones as 8 over 19. You take out this one, it's going to be 11 over 19. So 11 over 19 plus 8 over 19 will give you that. Okay, so that's basically what you were supposed to do there. So if I take out a small one, okay, then the small one would give you 7 over 19, the other one will be 12 out of 19. If I take out a large, now a large becomes 11 out of 19, so the other one still stays 8 out of 19. Okay, right. Now using that, we are supposed to find the probability that both are small. So probability that you have small and small, small, small. So that's going to be 8 over 20. Okay, let's just start that over there. So it's 8 over 20 multiplied by 7 over 19. Okay, small, small, right? So we are going this way. It's 8 over 20 times 7 over 19 times 7 over 19. Okay, well, grab your calculator. That's going to give us the probability. So let's just make sure our calculator is correct. So it's 8 over 20 times 7 over 19. That's 14 over 95. Okay, that's what you do right there. Now they're saying one mango is small and the other one is large. So we have got small and large plus large and small. Okay, so let's look at that combination. Small is 8 over 20. So we have 8 over 20 times, what is the large one there? So 8 over 20 and large is 12 over 19. Okay, times 12 over 19. Add that with large, which is 12 over 20. So large is 12 over 20, and multiply 12 over 20, because it's large now and small, times 8 over 19. Times 8 over 19. Well, if you clear this up, you get 24 over 95 plus 24 over 95. So that gives you 48 95. Okay, right. So that's how that question is done. Right, question 15. They are saying find x in terms of log p and q. Right, first of all, let's see, this is log x is equal to log p squared minus log q. And you know when you have logs of the same base, what do? You say log p squared over q, that is log x. And you can actually go ahead now and you can drop this logs. So x is p squared over q. Okay. Right, so the last question here, well, it asks you to find the quotient and the remainder. So I hope you're still familiar with synthetic division. I'm not going to do long division, right? So x is -1. Therefore, you have -1 here, the coefficients of 2, of 1, of 2, and of -3. So make sure that they're going nicely in descending order. Okay, right? So if it's not there, if something is not there, then you are going to, something is not there, then say for example the x squared term was not there, you put a 0 there. Alright, so -2 times 2, -1 times 2 gives you -2. And then you add, you get -1. Then you multiply again, you get 1. Then you add, you get 3. Then you multiply again, you get -3. I hope you remember that. So you say -1 times that. That gives you the value of -2. Then you add, you get -1. Then you go again, you start all over. You say -1, then you multiply that, you get +1. Once you get +1, you go ahead and add, you get 3. Then you go again and you say -1 times 3. When you multiply, you get, guess what? You get -3. So this was quadratic. So now we are not done. So the last time here, where you add, you get -6. Right, so this was quadratic. So the highest power should definitely be 1 less than that. So it's 2x squared, 2 coming from here, minus x coming from here, plus 3 coming from here. And the remainder is -6. Okay, right, so I know it is a quite long paper. Again, as I said, this is a 3-hour paper, and the objective is for you to work through it, and then you get to understand how to do this particular question. And I also advise that you don't get tired. Okay, you work on past question papers, the old extended question papers of grade 12 that you have, say paper 4 and paper 2 if you can find such, and then you work through them. It will definitely assist you also in your preparation um, towards your studies. All right, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Please remember that. Again, feel free to download that uh, question paper. You find it at Nied's website, right? And then you just go and you find specimen papers, okay? So you go to Nied website and then you look for the specimen papers for grade um, 10 and 11, and you'll be able to find this paper, and then you work it out. You can print it out. Okay, so good luck with your studies. Till next time,